Newsfirst, NEWSLINE PRIME with Faraz Shaukatali.
Street in Colombo, and out there it's a little bit wet, bit of rain here and there, so you need to be careful as you're trying to head home after the program, of course. Now then, this evening we've got a guest who is going to help us understand the fight against the drug menace. Everyone is, quite literally everyone is talking about it, and it has been spurred on by President Maithripala Sirisena's steely resolve to get to the bottom of the drug menace. And of course, that has then been further news has been added with the arrest in the United Arab Emirates of a underworld so described as a kingpin, and several others with that person at a party held in a hotel. Well, to discuss most of these matters, but not specifically about the case in the UAE, because obviously it's subject of an ongoing investigation, we have with us SSP Thilak Faraz, who's the Director of the Police Narcotics Bureau. Very good evening to you, Mr. Thilak.
Very good evening for us.
Thank you, SSP, for coming on the program. The drug menace seems to be getting out of hand. How bad is the problem?
Actually, for us, thank you very much for you and TV1 for inviting me to this very valuable interview. Actually, here in Sri Lanka, that dangerous drugs, except cannabis, all dangerous drugs coming out from the country. And this menace actually started, except those cannabis, back 1980s. For example, in 1981, we found 8 personnel that actually hospitalized due to that use of a dangerous drug called heroin. So actually those drugs came through the foreigners coming to Sri Lanka. Then a few Sri Lankans used that new drug in early 90s, 80s, the heroin. Starting from that era up to now, actually around 2% of the population here in Sri Lanka use these dangerous drugs, including cannabis. Not only
2% of
2% of the population.
Of 20 million, 21 million people. That's a lot of people.
A lot of people that compared to the population as a percentage, 2%.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, 98% they are not using those dangerous drugs, including cannabis, locally made cannabis. But actually when we are talking about Western province, the number is quite high compared to other provinces. By saying this information, that I'd like to say this is not a new thing here to Sri Lanka. A few decades, or for last few decades, that we can find a number of these dangerous drug users.
But SSP, why has this problem got allowed to increase? You know, you say in 1981 it was just I don't mean that lightly, but there were 8 heroin cases in 1981, and between 2015 and 18, in 2018, the number of suspects arrested for heroin use, as it'll come up on the screen now, the number of suspects arrested for heroin use between 2015 and 18 In 2018, it's nearly 41,000.
Yes.
In 2017, it was just over 29,000.
Yes.
And 2016, it was 27,000. And in 2015, it's 26,000 something. So this is a lot of people. I mean, you say that you have some form of information. You all estimate that around 400,000 people in this country have used or are using these sort of hard drugs.
Yes.
And it seems that the problem is getting out of hand.
Not out of hand, actually. That it is right, actually, that the number is quite big. But compared to other countries in Asia and out of Asia as well, our records are very low that compared to other countries, especially the Asian countries, compared to Asian countries and other countries as well, as I said earlier. Because actually this is not that booming thing, actually, that yes, compared to that past.
Yeah.
If we are talking about last few years, actually the users, we cannot find a huge increase. It is stagnant now. Actually, that when we are talking about that drugs, actually the demand and the supply, those two sides should be decreased. We have to address those two factors, demand factor and the supply factor as well.
But SSP, what I find hard to understand is that I mean, I know you say that in the region where our figures are low, but that doesn't really mean anything in a way, because after all, in Thailand, for example, they have many more visitors than Sri Lanka has. Sri Lanka, I think our visitor numbers are around around 2 million, I think. And that includes a lot of Sri Lankans coming back home, people who work abroad, or Sri Lankans who are visiting friends and relatives here. So that's, by relying on those figures, we are just sort of not addressing the problem. My question to you is, Sri Lanka is an island country.
Yes.
We don't produce cocaine or heroin, and there are homegrown varieties of marijuana here, but most of it seems to be from outside. And so what's wrong? Do we not have enough boats patrolling the country, or is the customs not doing their job? Where are they slipping in from?
Actually, as you said, actually those dangerous drug coming, especially using sea routes, from air routes as well, very few number, but over 95% of that supply.
Yeah.
They normally that they are using that sea routes. That is also that as we concern as an island, Sri Lanka, that the geographical location, and actually that we are middle of that golden triangle and golden crescent as well. Then actually the traffickers, they use those sea routes to smuggle those things into the country. Actually that we have that border patrol, that is the Navy and Coast Guard, they are doing a huge job here, and also the police narcotic bureau and the other law enforcement agencies as well. We are helping them, and actually that, but it is practically it is not much easier to that catch those that actually that incoming those dangerous drugs without real information. Actually, that is very important to get.
So what you're saying is most of your detections
yes.
are coming through information.
Information, actually, right. Human resources, intelligence.
How many?
information.
I noticed that you're from the Police Narcotics Bureau.
Yes.
How many officers do you have?
Actually, I cannot say the number of officers here in public, but we have enough officers.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I'm asking classified information. Sorry, all these drug guys are saying there, come on Faraz, get us the answer. No, they got loads, and loads. So watch out, you guys. If you're trading in it, you know, your days are numbered. Right, no, sorry, I didn't realize that in the heat of the moment. Yeah. But our program is incomplete if I don't ask you at least one controversial question. And it's not controversial, but it is a matter of national importance. The whole country really is talking about in some shape or form. The newspapers are full of it, the radio stations are full of it, and obviously TV and so on. And social media is going completely overboard on it. And so therefore, it's an important question. And that is obviously the arrest of this so-called kingpin, Madush. I don't know why they call him kingpin, but anyway, Madush has been detained apparently in the UAE. Do you have any more details on that?
Actually, for us, that we have also asked through Interpol that to obtain those details from UAE. Up to now, we are awaiting those details, and actually that we hope within next few days that they will provide us a very detailed report on that, and also that. From Police Narcotic Bureau, and also that CID, they are the authority that they are the dealing with Interpol here in Sri Lanka, and I think they also that asked those details, and we are waiting up to now.
Right.
That yes.
Now there's a lot of talk that Madush will be brought to Sri Lanka soon, but actually speaking. Isn't it true that when you are caught abroad for whatever the offense, it is that country's laws that you will be prosecuted under?
Yes.
And if you're given a sentence, you have to serve that sentence there.
Yes. Yes.
And after the sentence is served, then there's no question of extradition, it is deporting.
Yes.
They will deport you to the country of your origin. Now, is it possible, SSP Dhanapala, that when at the end of a term of a custodial sentence, say in Dubai, is it possible for that person to say, okay, well, I don't want to go to Sri Lanka, but I don't need a visa in, I don't know, whichever country, say Singapore, and I want to go there. Will that work, or will they have to come to this country?
No, they have to come to Sri Lanka because they are Sri Lankans. That's it. Sri Lankan nationals.
So the passport dictates where you return to.
Yeah. They cannot ask any visa to another country. For here also the same. That when we are arresting that foreigners, after their punishment, we deport to their respective countries, not to other countries.
I see.
Yes.
And I noticed when I went on a visit to the prison some months ago, and I noticed that there was one sort of hall. They call halls, by the way, and they were all entirely foreigners. And I think that the bulk of them were on drug charges.
Yes.
They were convicted and so on. Now, is there any provision for a foreigner who's convicted in this country for drug offences? Is there any provision in our law to allow that person to leave this country and to serve his sentence in his native country?
Normally, no, actually, that they have to serve here in Sri Lanka because that they committed that crime here in Sri Lanka. in the Sri Lankan territory, they have to serve here. Then, but for special circumstances, for example, the bilateral agreement between countries, that can be, but in very rare. But in general, it is no.
I need to ask you another question, and thank you for sending your questions in on SMS, which you can do. 0772 300 305 is the number. Please send SMSs only, and not WhatsApp or anything else. So 0772 300 305, and somebody's asking us one question. The question is, was the Sri Lankan police force involved with the UAE police in the detection of this group of people, or was it something that they were under surveillance by the Dubai authorities and they carried out the arrest?
What I can say from police narcotic side, we didn't involve.
Right.
That's the thing. From my side, I can say.
So none of your people went there?
Sorry?
None of your people
Yeah,
from
none
your
of
force
yeah,
went
none
there?
of none of our people. Our people means the police narcotic bureau.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. The other thing is, please don't try to call the number, because I can't answer it. It's just SMSs, please, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Now then, the other question. Here we go. There's many coming up here. Let's have a look. Here we go. Why are they not telling the public about the diplomatic passport holder who was arrested? I don't know whether you can tell us that, or whether you know about that, because you've already told us that you have asked the Dubai authorities and you're waiting.
We are waiting. Yes.
Yes, you're waiting.
Still
so
waiting.
that you have the answer there. And here you go, another one here. Do you honestly think that we have a country to come back? Well, I don't know. But if Mr. Madush comes back, when he does come back, whenever it is, we don't know, he will find will he find Sri Lanka a tougher place to do drug business than it is now?
A tougher place.
Now Madush will probably serve a sentence there, and he may come back in, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, who knows? Let's say 5 years.
Yes.
In 5 years' time, in 2023, will he find that Sri Lanka is a different place
Yes.
to do drug business?
Yeah, actually, that I think he cannot do this drug trafficking furthermore, according to that my belief, because already he is in custody, and he have to serve that sentence there. After that, here in Sri Lanka, we also have cases to file against him.
SSP Dhanapala, how true is it that when the police or the Navy or any of the authorities, when a detection is made of drugs, that by the time the case is finished with, that some of the amount of drugs seized has sort of slipped its way through the fingers and gone back to the underworld?
No, that cannot be happen actually. That after the cases, normally all the drugs destroyed in front of the judge, and also at that point normally the judge he or she called that register of the court, and sometimes PNB person, police narcotic bureau person, NDDCB, and sometimes.
What about the media?
Medias are that last year actually that we did large scale that
Yes,
destruction
the media was there
in front of the media. like that. But very small cases that is actually judiciary procedure that the High Court judge he has to decide to that call for media or not, like that. For small cases, normally it not happen. But in the near future, we hope to, with the discuss with the judiciary and the Attorney General Department for actually, especially for that large distractions, that we can open for the media as well.
Wonderful. And on that note, time for a short break. Don't go away. After all, this is Newsline Prime. We'll be back.
News First, Newsline Prime with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And welcome back to Newsline Prime. This is live from the Newsfirst studios in Doss Street in Colombo, and we are in conversation with SSP Thilak from the Police Narcotics Bureau, and you guessed it right, we are talking drugs, and everyone seems to be talking about drugs. Here you go. Several questions. Thank you very much for sending your questions in. We are encouraged by your questions. What sort of sentence are those who were caught in Dubai? What sort of sentence will those who were caught in Dubai get?
According to their law, actually, that they will do that.
Right.
That from our side we cannot comment on that, actually, that they are judiciary.
But I researched this on the internet, and the British government were giving a warning to their citizens traveling to the UAE and reminding them that the UAE has stiff penalties for drug use and certainly drug trading, and they virtually offer a zero tolerance policy. And you can expect very stiff sentences for even the most minute residual traces in your body even. So even if you're going past Dubai on a transit flight and you're within the airport and you haven't gone out, you are still subject to those laws. And if they do suspect you, they will subject you to a test, and you will be sentenced and given out punishment according to the laws of the UAE, as though you had actually entered the UAE. That's very important to note that. And just because you are in a transit lounge in an airport, you are not subject to that country's laws. And let's see, several questions. Everybody knows that politicians are the people who bring drugs to this country. How many politicians has the Police Narcotics Bureau apprehended?
Actually, if somebody has information on those politicians, please give us. Then we can conducting investigation and arrest them. All the things can be done without any fear or any distraction. Actually, we have that now. Now we have a hotline 1984. 1984, the hotline.
Yeah, 1984.
84, yes.
That's the hotline. Yeah. If you have any information and you want to report anything to do with drugs, whether it's a politician or whoever, get your fingers working. Dial 1984 and you go straight through to the Police Narcotics Bureau.
24/7.
And it's 24/7, 365 days in a year. And yes, and if it's a leap year, they'll be open then too. So the other question, another one coming in, somebody's saying, to arrest a politician, don't you have to ask another politician?
No.
You don't have to ask anyone?
No, we don't ask anyone.
You can just arrest
them? We can arrest, because actually in Sri Lanka, the laws pertaining to that narcotic drugs is very tough here in Sri Lanka.
Okay. So the law is the law?
Yeah, law is the law, because if you if you possess around 2 grams, more than 2 grams of heroin, it will be ended up with death penalty or life imprisonment in Sri Lanka.
Right. So over
Yes.
2 grams, that's it?
Yeah, over 2 grams, so purity of over 2 grams.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Of heroin or cocaine. Yes, very high.
And that's non-bailable?
Yeah, non-bailable.
Right. So it doesn't matter how much money you have,
Yeah.
you'll be inside.
Yeah, sure.
Now, the other thing is, what happens to the proceeds of crime? You know, these guys who drug dealers. I'm not talking about the youth who are using this. I'm worried about them, but I'm not talking about that. My question to you is, you know, these people, the big fish, they deal and they get their little minions to go around delivering and collecting and so on. But the big money is made by the big boys on the top.
Yes.
What happens when one of them gets caught? What happens to their property?
Yeah, actually that here we have an act called that Money Laundering, Prevention of Money Laundering Act.
Right.
Under that act, normally we file cases against them as well with the assistance of CID and FIU. FIU in Central Bank, yes, they are also assisting. That normally that CID, they have the authority, they have the trained officers they are to investigate. Normally PNB, the Police Narcotic Bureau, we refer those cases to CID through IGP. Then definitely they will charge them under that Prevention of Money Laundering Act. That is also a very powerful act here in Sri Lanka.
Right.
Yes.
Now then, have you ever investigated a politician?
Recently, no. Actually, that during my period here in PNB, around 1.5 years, we didn't get any that significant information, reliable information on that involvement of politicians. We had a few informations and we investigated, but up to now not successful. Nobody can say that due to anything behind those cases. Nothing actually. No interferences from any side. Actually, that we investigate, we are doing our job very independently.
And you don't get, how many times have you got a telephone call from a politician who says, "Machan mage yaluwek andurune kenek meka attarinna"?
Zero.
Zero.
Yes.
There you go. You heard the answer. Zero. Right. So we have asked the question. As a citizen, apart from your profession as a policeman, as citizen Thilak Dhanapala, how do you see the ambience in this country, especially for children? It's dangerous, is it, to send our little ones to school? I'm talking about people who are younger than O-level age, who are just about being allowed to go on their own to school and so on. As citizen Dhanapala, are you concerned?
Yeah, actually very good question. Now actually that our big concern about the reduction of drug demand, especially among the teenagers, school children and other target groups that as police officers and other organizations such as NDDCB and that other responsible agencies for these drug menace, we conduct several that awareness programs, drug prevention. Actually that without demand reduction, we cannot that actually only by detecting that addressing to the supply side only, we cannot actually go to drug-free country. That is very important, very important to that reduce the demand side. Right. That a lot of prevention activities are continuing now.
Unfortunately, we were going to talk about PDPR,
Yes.
and the whole concept of PDPR,
Yes.
which is prevention, detection, something, and
Yeah.
prevention and rehabilitation.
No prevention, the prosecution,
Prosecution
and rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation.
That is very important.
Indeed. Perhaps we will have this as a subject on one of our longer programs, like Face the Nation, which is on Monday evenings at 9:30. But SSP Thilak Faraz, thank you very much. It's not often we get to say thank you to the police for doing their work, and we are fully aware that it's not all about traffic policemen bullying three-wheel drivers and so on. But it's not often that we get the chance to say thank you and to appreciate the hard work that your department obviously puts in. And, you know, thank you. On behalf of our group, on behalf of Team News First, as you can see, many, many young people work out here.
Yes.
And we are deeply grateful for the work that you do, and we wish you all the very best. And if you have a little bit more information about Mr. Madush and his activities, come here and share it with Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much, Faraz, and thank you for your team and inviting me here.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, and that's the way it was on NEWSLINE Prime. And do have a great evening. Take care. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe, be vigilant, and God bless.
News First, NEWSLINE Prime with Faraz Shaukat Ali.